All the anchors on Fox, they're all millionaires. How is this possible? Well, it's very easy. You're just not talking about certain things.
It doesn't even, Fox doesn't even play where you are.
It doesn't play.
What? Fox doesn't play in England? What does that have to do with what's being said right now? He's mad. You're not even from America. You're not even from here, dude. What fresh hell is this?
The Fox News, I read a study some years ago, Fox News is more inclined to have a leftist on than MSNBC and CNN. It usually has a liberal on its panels that I think is representative of what liberalism is, for better or for worse, as opposed to the CNN, MSNBC shows, which tend to have like a never Trump Republican, which is this anomalous thing, which is basically just a neoliberal.
Wait, isn't every person on MSNBC a liberal? Wait, wouldn't MSNBC have more liberals on than Fox News because MSNBC is a liberal platform run by liberals with liberal hosts? What are we talking about here? I cannot believe she was the press secretary for Bernie's campaign. Oh my God.
Democrat at this point, and you don't get the kind of spice and engagement that you get when you watch Fox News.
The spice, and I love that, the spice and engagement. That's the metric we're looking for here when we're looking for news stations that report on the news. We're looking for the spice and the engagement. Oh, go back to the media takes? Yeah, this is what you wanted. Talk politics, Oh, sorry, well, if we talk politics, we have to talk about this bitch. Sorry, that's how it works sometimes. I know, it's rough.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Fox really figured it out. I remember right when...
Oh, I would say that Tucker Carlson in particular, I like watching Tucker Carlson. I watch him all the time. He's actually, if I had to choose which show, that's the one I would watch. And it's not, and I used to hate Tucker Carlson. I mean, honestly, hate the guy. But I've grown to appreciate him. I don't agree with him on a lot of stuff, like the immigration stuff we definitely don't agree on. But he's so anti-establishment, at least.
Right. Yeah, New York Times did that analysis of how often Tucker Carlson had guests on who disagreed with him. Credit where credit's due, he used to have them on fairly often, and now he never does. Like, never, ever, ever does. Most often now, when people like Tucker Carlson have people on who disagree with him, it's people who disagree with him, like Jimmy Dore or something, right? Like, you know, yeah, I know that we're on the right and the left, which means we disagree. Now let's spend the entire program agreeing on everything that I say. Yeah, like that kind of thing, you know? But in terms of meaningful disagreement, it's pretty much all dried up. Because it's not necessary. Remember, to the fascist, engagement in discourse is something they only tolerate so long as it benefits them. It's not a principal value. Discussing things with the opposition, testing their ideas against the opposition, is a tool they use to achieve prominence and power, and discard it as soon as it's no longer valuable. Beyond that point, it's not something they care for. The Nazis were incredibly... Terry me, going on a Nazi comparison again. The Nazis were incredibly aggressive in the promotion of their ideas to opposition relatively early on in their prominence. And this is going to be a huge shock to you. They weren't exactly inviting socialists up on the debate stage in 1943 to discuss their differing ideas, you know? It's something you do until you don't have to do it no more. And to an extent, this is done... This is done by all groups to an extent, I think. Though I think this indicates a much more severe adherence to the idea of, like, you know, go for it till you can't anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is a much more severe trend.
At least that's the show he produces. That I think a lot of people on the right and the left appreciate that anti-establishment viewpoint.
Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's what CNN is missing.
That's exactly right. When you said earlier that the liberal channels have failed to read the room and looking to the Women's March. The Women's March was not the movement of the era. The movement of the era was, I'm sorry, the Bernie movement in 2016 that got rebooted in 2020. You have a solid 30% of the Democratic Party that steadfastly is supporting a more populist brand of politics. That's about the same numbers that exist on the right. Republicans aren't all populists right now, but the most fiery, energetic part of the party is. And Tucker Carlson and a lot of these conservative shows cater to that, I would argue in bad faith, but cater to that kind of populist.
You know, the funny thing is that conflating left-leaning populism and right-leaning populism is actually a liberal tendency. Aren't liberals the ones who were saying, like, what's the difference between a Bernie bro and a Trumper? Do you guys remember the primaries back in 2019, 2020? Even all the way back in 2015, where they're like, you know, the Bernie lovers and Trump lovers are actually the same because both of them are populist and radical and so on and so on. Like, this is actually a liberal tendency to, you know, associate all populism. Maybe this is why Shu does it so often, because she's a liberal, but, like, yeah, the idea of there being any similarity whatsoever between left populism and right populism is fucking ridiculous. The only person to whom that could be the case is a person to whom populism itself is so extreme that when they look at you know, a political actor, all they see is the populism, you know? Yeah, Bernie Bros tweeted snakes at Queen Warren, therefore, you know, they're therefore indistinguishable from fascism.
You know, verb. On the left, people like myself are more persona non grata on CNN and MSNBC than actual Republicans like Nicole Wallace, who was...
What does that fancy word mean?
I'm not allowed. I'm banned. I'm canceled. I'm very much a distasteful person.
Wait, what? What did I miss?
Left, people like myself are more persona non grata on CNN and MSNBC than actual Republicans like Nicole Wallace, who was...
What does that fancy word mean?
Oh, I didn't know if this was a joke or if she actually didn't know what persona non grata meant. I thought there was a bit where it was like, oh, say that again, but she... Okay, so she was actually asking. No, there's nothing wrong with not knowing what a word means, you know?
I'm not allowed. I'm banned. I'm canceled. I'm very much a distasteful person. I'm literally, you know, I have been blacklisted on one of the major MSNBC shows, according to a booker that tried to suggest me one time. I mean, this is where they are. They literally won't have anybody who would come on and ask basic questions about why the Democratic Party and the Biden administration is so out of touch with the state of New
As opposed to Tucker Carlson, who is famous for allowing people to come on and ask why he and Donald Trump... Guys, do you remember when there was that one professor who went on Tucker Carlson's show to point out that he was lying and that he wasn't actually a populist and none of his policies were pro-worker? And Tucker got so ass-pain that he, like, swore the guy out and it never went to air. And the only reason we ever got, like, any copy of the audio was because some worker in the back end of the set, like, recorded it from the back end and, like, released it quietly. Like that, so that's what happens when you go on Tucker Carlson's show. Where is that clip? Can anyone, hold on. Leaked Tucker Carlson show professor. I wonder if I could find that. Okay, leaked footage shows Tucker Carlson's epic meltdown after being schooled by Dutch historian. Can I get that? Wait, hold on.
You jumped the bandwagon. You're all like, oh, I'm against the globalist elite, blah, blah, blah. It's not very convincing, to be honest.
Why don't you go yourself?
So this is what happens when you challenge him.
You tiny brain, and I hope this gets picked up, because you're a moron. I tried to give you a hearing, but you were too annoying for me.
You can't handle the criticism, can you?
Hey, just give me the audio.
We gotta be talking about tech.
One's allowed to speak about water. It's one of the great moments, maybe the great moment in Davos history. Rutger Bregman is the author of Utopia for Realists, and he joins us now. Mr. Bregman, I can't stop laughing just listening to that.
He said the F word in a leaked clip. It was censored by Now This, not by the clip itself.
And part of that makes me wonder, are you the first person ever to note that people are flying private to talk about global warming and that none of them mention tax avoidance? Has anyone ever said that before at Davos that you know of?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on Davos history, but it is a bit hypocritical, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And others have noted that. We've noted it on this show. We've just never gone to Davos and said it out loud as you did. So if I was wearing a hat...
So notice again how Tucker Carlson is concerned here not with climate change, but with hypocrisy. So Tucker Carlson won't acknowledge climate change or push for any preventing climate change policies or green energy because he's completely in the pocket of Jesus Christ, gas and oil billionaires, you know. But he'll be like, curious, you claim to care about global warming, but there are private jets, you know. But that's not the same as actually caring about global warming. Ass and goyle, true.
I would take it off to you. What response did you get?
I mean, they were not very happy with me, but I'm just I think, a random Dutch historian who's basically saying whatever around the globe is thinking. You know, the vast majority of Americans, for years and years now, according to the polls, including Fox News viewers and including Republicans, are in favor of higher taxes on the rich. You know, higher inheritance taxes, higher top marginal tax rates, higher wealth taxes. It's all really mainstream. But no one's saying that at Davos, just as no one's saying it on Fox News, right?
Whoa! It's almost like it's possible to go on Tucker's program and directly challenge his hypocrisy. That's crazy.
And I think the explanation for that is quite simple, is that most of the people in Davos, but also here on this channel, have been bought by the billionaire class. You know, you're not meant to say these things. So I just went there and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to say it, just as I'm saying it right here on this channel.
Well, what was interesting, I thought, about what you said was you noted something. I mean, many people have called for higher taxes, but very few.
Well, not on this channel, is it? I mean, almost all of the...
Instant he tries to deflect, this guy holds him down like a goddamn Chad. Tucker Carlson's a bucking bronco, and this guy's got rope, all right? He's holding him down. No, lots of people advocate for higher tax. Nope, not here they don't. Nope, sorry, Tucker. No, they don't. Not here.
Pundits on these channels for years have been against higher taxes, right? Even though the vast majority of Americans is in favor of it.
I mean, I don't know. It would be interesting to know how many hours of Fox.
Oh no! Instantly, all of the thousands of hours of media training fall apart because being asked direct questions is not something that these people can withstand. Instantly. Discombobulated. Here we go.
Oi, we ain't done yet!
Discombobulate. Dazed. Discombobulate. Distract target. Discombobulate. Block his blind jab. Discombobulate.
God damn it.
You've watched, but I'm interested in what you said about tax avoidance. So
Yeah.
I mean, just because someone faces a specific tax rate does not mean that person pays that tax rate at all. I don't think Netflix, for example, paid any taxes last year.
Instantly, once again, an attempt to redirect. So there is no contradiction whatsoever between these two things. Yes, obviously, plenty of people and corporations don't pay the posted tax rate. What does that have to do? So what does that have to do with raising taxes?
At all. So what would you do specifically to make certain that this class of people pays what they're supposed to pay?
Two levels of obfuscation right here. This class of people he uses to follow up Netflix. Not stockholders, not investors, not oil billionaires, not coal billionaires, not gas billionaires, not the billionaire class in general, Netflix. He mentions the woke media corporation as the example of tax avoidance. So when he says this class of people, he's not including the people that he represents as Tucker. Like, see, what he's doing right there is he's trying to give the audience the implication that the class of people he's referring to isn't really the billionaire, super wealthy, ultra big corporation class, but rather something different from him. So that's one. The second obfuscation here is an attempt at overspecification. He's right now asking this guy how to close the tax loophole. That is a very difficult question. You kidding me? How would you ensure that we close the tax loophole? Well, I don't... That's very complicated. But notice now, because now the guest is being put in a position where if he's forced to answer this, he has to give some sort of waffling, vague answer because it's incredibly complicated, you know, very difficult to just answer that up front. And in doing so, Tucker can make it seem like it's, oh, you know, he has strong arguments but no solutions, that kind of thing, you know?
Well, it's about multiple things. So we should really crack down on tax paradises and on tax avoidance. That's a major issue. But it's also about having higher taxes. So in the 1950s, for example...
Giga Chad immediately getting back to the point. Oh yeah, we can find ways to close the tax loophole. However...
In the 1960s, in the golden age of capitalism, as historians called it, we had a marginal tax rate for the very rich of about, 70, 80, 90%. Actually under Eisenhower, the Republican president. And this was also, one of the best periods in American history. The same is true for the UK and the rest of Europe. So as a historian, for me, it's all not, it's really not rocket science. We should just go back to simple and straightforward solutions from the past.
Really, really simple and very effective argument here. pointing out that higher taxes is a part of returning to tradition, good old American tradition. And in that case, it's true, The 1950s and 60s saw a massive increase in the expanse of American development and infrastructural development. From the highways that we built, to the schools, to the suburbs that we built, it was an era of massive expansion following the New Deal. And a lot of that was because, proportional to our GDP, we did have a very high upper tax rate. Not to say all the stuff we did with that money was great. I don't like suburbs, and I don't like highways. But a huge swath of infrastructural investment was sort of put forward back then and funded, in large part based on those those higher tax rates. You don't like highways? Well, I like highways as long as the system that we're in right now exists in its current state. But I don't think highways are the solution to long distance travel in the United States. I think that having highways is good. I don't like highways as like the solve all problems solution to travel and transit and what have you.
From the past.
Right, but this country was sustained, and since you're a historian, I guess you would know this, sustained by an industrial economy at the time that was broad and deep, that created a middle class.
Obfuscation. This has nothing to do, literally zero to do with what he's talking about. We may not have an industrial economy now, but our GDP is higher than ever. In terms of how wealthy this country is as an aggregate, it's wealthier than ever. This country has never had more money. Basically he's saying right now, well, we had a different type of economy back then, but that doesn't have any effect. We're talking about raising taxes on the wealthy here. Having a larger industrial middle class has nothing to do with this.
That doesn't exist anymore.
He might as well be saying, well, that was the 1960s and today is the 2020s, so sorry. He might as well just be saying that. There's as much of a relationship there as what he's saying right now.
So it's an entirely different economy. I wish it did exist.
Oh well, but that's not really an issue. I mean,
would tax rates work the same way with an entirely different economy?
Would tax rates work the same way with an entirely different economy? We have more money than ever, and our country has more wealth circulating in it than ever, but also people get their paychecks from being baristas instead of factory workers, so do taxes even work anymore? This means nothing. Like, this is literally like Pepega clap tier political analysis. And he's doing this deliberately, by the way. Right now he has no counter argument, so he has to make up counter positions to try to derail the conversation.
Well, I think it would. I mean, America is still pretty much the most powerful country in the world, right? So
it's real anti-establishment thinking as long as the establishment you're referring to is like primary school education, Tucker Carlson is demonstrating his anti-establishment chops by not knowing the alphabet, doesn't know the order of the months in the year, can't do his multiplication tables, really sticking it to the establishment with this one.
If it really would want to, it could easily crack down on tax paradises. But the thing is, I mean, you guys have brought into power a president that doesn't even want to show its own tax returns. I mean, who knows how many billions he has hidden in the Cayman Islands or in Bermuda. So I think the issue really is one of corruption and of people being bribed.
I really, really like this guy because he never, ever, ever allows a point to go by without pointing out that Tucker Carlson and the Republicans are on the wrong side of history. I really like this because so often people will try to talk with the populist right, where it's like, yeah, let's agree on shared issues. If you both agree on something sincerely, then feel free to push for that, but you have to hold them to account for the fact that they're that materially pushing in the wrong direction on every single issue. Every time it gets brought up, you can't let any point slide.
And of not being, not talking about the real issues. What the family, what the Murdochs basically want you to do is to scapegoat immigrants instead of talking about tax avoidance.
Basically.
So I'm glad you're now finally raising the issue. But that's what been happening for the past couple of years.
And I'm taking orders from the Murdochs. Is that what you're saying?
Tucker Carlson has literally said that he will do what he's told by the Murdochs. Where's, that quote? He has literally explicitly said, first of all, he's employed by the Murdochs. So, yeah, they're his employer. They sign his checks. Additionally, yeah, he has admitted he will just do whatever they tell him to do. Didn't he literally, like, it was literally like an explicit quote of him saying, I will do and say what they tell me to do and say. With no ambiguity whatsoever. No ambiguity, none of that. He said he's Murdoch's bitch. Yeah.
No, I mean, it doesn't work that directly. But I mean, you've been part of the Cato Institute, right? You've been a senior fellow there.
Let me see if I can find that. Hold on. Tucker Carlson, Murdoch's bitch. Yeah, it's part of this Vox bit.
Our boss.
You're his bitch.
I'm 100% his bitch. Whatever Mr. Murdoch says, I do. I would be honored if he would cane me the way I cane my workers.
That's Tucker Carlson earlier in his career while talking with some other guys on like a podcast, I think.
It's to him or his multi-billionaire boss.
You're his bitch.
I'm 100%
The Bubba the Love Sponge Show, 2010.
His bitch. Whatever Mr. Murdoch says, I do. I would be honored if he would cane me the way I cane my workers. My servants.
He's a phony. And if that
Yeah.
For years, you've been taking their dirty money. They're funded by cock billionaires, you know.
Wait, why don't you tell me how it does work?
Well, it works by you taking their dirty money. It's as easy as that. I mean, you are a millionaire funded by billionaires. That's what you are. And I'm glad you now finally jumped the bandwagon, you know, of people like Bernie Sanders and AOC. But you're not part of the solution, Mr. Carlson.
God, he's so fucking good. And it really, by the way, one other thing that it showcases here, I think, is how submissive Tucker Carlson is, because he is letting this guy roll over him. You know right now that this hoity-toity private school educated Swanson heir, Tucker Carlson, is like, you know, like sweating in his little chair right now. Like, ooh, how dare him? You know, bow tie wearing ass motherfucker. Just completely unable to respond to basic pushback.
You're part of the problem, actually.
AOC, wait, but can I just say, and
it's true, right? It's true, right? That all the anchors on Fox, they're all millionaires. How is this possible? Well, it's very easy. You're just not talking about certain things.
Fox doesn't even play where you are.
It doesn't play?
What? Fox doesn't play in England? What does that have to... What? What does that have to do with what's being said right now? He's mad!
Hey, where you are.
Well, Netherlands?
I can watch things whatever I want, you know? I have, actually. I can't say I'm a great fan of your show, but I do my homework when you invite me on your show.
Also, what response is this? You're lying about everything you do. The positions that you take are incoherent. You're all millionaires funded by billionaires. And Tucker Carlson's response is, you're not even from America. You're not even from here, dude.
So, I mean, you're probably not going to air this. But I went to Davos to speak truth to power. And I'm doing exactly the same thing right now. You might not like it. But you're a millionaire funded by billionaires, and that's the reason why you're not talking about these issues.
But I am talking about these issues.
Yeah, only now. Come on, you jumped the bandwagon. You're all like, oh, I'm against the globalist elite, blah, blah, blah. It's not very convincing, to be honest.
Why don't you go yourself, you tiny brain, and I hope this gets picked up, because you're a moron. I tried to give you a hearing, but you were too annoying for me.
You can't handle the criticism, can you?
There's a war.
God, that's good. I don't think we've ever actually gone over the full clip before on my stream, but yeah, it's really, really, really good. Yeah. What a king. He really hoped it didn't get picked. Oh, there's no way they would ever air that. Why would Fox News ever air that? No shot. They would never, ever do that. Didn't you want to air it? No, I don't think I saw the whole thing. Well, anyway, it's good stuff, you know. You ever try to talk with him about his experience? No. Very funny. That was back in early 2019. Oh, that's why I didn't talk about it. This clip came out pretty much right when I started streaming. sort of prophetic, wasn't it? You know, like people being born with a crucifix birthmark. You know, Vaush starts his channel. Tucker Carlson gets Debate Broed live on air. It's the deep prophecy, coming to reality. Yeah. No. Anyway, it's very funny. It's very funny. So just keep that in mind when you have people who are screeching about anti-establishment Tucker Carlson who dares to bring people who disagree with him on. Besides the fact that he doesn't bring people who disagree with him on anymore, you know. He brought someone on who disagreed with him so well that they just didn't air the segment because it revealed him to be such a bloviating fucking mess and a hypocrite. Actually, funnily enough, that happened in early 2019. I wonder if you can... I wonder if there's a relationship between that and Tucker Carlson deciding to not have people on his show who disagree with him anymore. If that was in early 2019, then you would start to see... Man, dude, I actually, come to think of it, and this could be kind of a spurious association, but I feel like the jump between 2018 and 2019 was pretty significant here. It would have been right around here. In fact, it might have been one of these guests right here. I don't know, man. 2018 was still a lot. Things really dried up. Right around, yeah. I don't know. Woo! Guess he learned his lesson. Man. Yeah, it was probably here-ish, I guess? Yeah. That's funny. Who are the last yellow squares? Oh, I don't know. You should watch Jon Stewart take down Cucker in an older Fox show. Yeah, that would have been a Crossfire. I'm familiar. That's an old clip. That's from the 90s, I think. That's quite old. Now, you can watch the Crossfire clip if you want. You can go for that if you like. Oh, early 2000s. Ah, it feels like it was so long ago.